諏訪たちに相談できるわけないじゃん。大事な友達だからみんなで言う時は笑っていたい。大事な友達だからこそ話せよ。辛いなら辛いって言えよ。俺もみんなも絶対お前を助けるから。俺らだってカケルが悩んでること知らずに笑ってたくないんだよ。死にたいって考えたことある？あるよ。毎日思う。なんで？全部俺のせいなんだ。違う。それはもう何も後悔すんな。お前は悪くない。
出会った時からあの笑顔で。
鼻出てるよ。
けど笑顔の奥の寂しさに私は気づいていなかった。本当の笑顔をかけるにいつか。
Spirituality, does it transcend morality? Affects our mentality, through our centrality. Immorality should not be its normality, neither its triviality, its individuality. Recognize my sentimentality, my intentionality, it's a universality. Reality is, we neglect our vitality, what it means to be alive. I can't be sure that you'll revive when you dive headfirst into black and white rationality, pain and pleasure as its totality. This person desires no bad, but eclipses the good. Thinks he's just misunderstood, knows he should, but doesn't believe that he could. After all, how could you do anything without knowing who you are? Your values distort each time you swallow a bar. Finish your umpteenth cigar, fall asleep at the bar, and then again in the car. Drunk at the wheel each time you steal. The more you'll feel, what's the appeal? Allow me to reveal the deal. Instant gratification and short-term removal of pain. Are you fain to strap on this ball and chain? Are you sane? Take a step into your awareness and ask, why do I feel the way I do? What the fuck happened to my worldview? Let the feelings pass through. Without bent disposition, establish in yourself a determined inquisition of mind and body. And don't simply make this a hobby, replay it in your head each day. Meditate, pray. Spirituality, does it transcend morality? Affects our mentality. Through our centrality, immorality should not be its normality, neither its triviality, its individuality. The eyes are the window to the soul. Be careful about what you take in and what you use to fill your emptiness, that hole. The eyes are the window to the soul. Be careful about what you take in and what you use to fill your emptiness, that hole. Take a step into your awareness and ask, why? Why do I feel the way I do?
What? There's nothing wrong.
Joe. Tell me what's wrong. Joe. Tell me what's wrong. Joe. Tell me what's wrong. Joe. Tell me what's wrong. Joe. Tell me what's wrong. Joe. Tell me what's wrong. Joe. Tell me what's wrong. Kel. Tell me what's wrong. Kel. Tell me what's wrong.
Join me for an adventure, oh, much like any other, with twists and turns and plot devices, words and wonder. Now my advice is listen close. What makes this story different is the teller and the told. This one's ours and it's waiting to unfold. So come be merry with me. Yeah. Oh, come be merry with me. Come on, be merry with me. Join me for an adventure, oh, much like any other, with twists and turns and plot devices, words and wonder. Now my advice is listen close. What makes this story different is the teller and the told. This one's ours and it's waiting to unfold. Hello! What's going on? Welcome. Oh shoot. Darn, I love the sunlight, but I think it's gonna mess up the lighting. One sec. Alright, all set. What's up, silly? Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Merry Mitch show, I suppose. I'm excited tonight. We have a little more time on our hands, which I know I'm certainly grateful for. Yeah, how's everybody doing? How are we feeling? Did we wake up feeling good? How's the day been? It's been stressful? Has it been filled with wonders and things to ooh and ah at? I want to know. I myself have been having a pretty darn good day. I've started bright and early. I actually set my alarm for 7 a.m. and I diggity darn woke up at 7 a.m. Nothing has happened for you? Nothing at all? Fascinating. It appears Silly has acquired some kind of cryo chamber. No, I'm just joshing with you, dude. I only say that only say that to point out that even in a mundane day, there's gotta be something that brought a smile to your face, right? Huh? Am I wrong? Animal Crossing makes you do many chooses? Yes. And that is crazy. Aw. Are you saying I make you smile? I'm pleased to hear it, dude. It is one of the things I aim for here. So to know I have been successful in that task is an ooh-woo moment indeed. Decisions. Gotcha. Yeah, man, Animal Crossing is a beautiful slice of life game. oddly enough, I watched a video by PBG. I don't know if you guys know him recently, but he did one on Harvest Moon, and I think he said it very well. He said like, oh, I've been trying to explain like my love for games like Animal Crossing and Harvest Moon for so long, and he thinks that it's simply because, you know, when you when I like decide that I'm not gonna do that much in a day, if I play a video game that can trick my mind into thinking that I've done a lot, then it still gives that same sort of sense of fulfillment and, you know, dopamine rush that getting stuff done gives you. Also, we have a book on face scenario, code red, code BF. Oh no, there we are. Whoa. Very nice. I figured I'd do a little zoom in to increase the effect. Yes, dude. Putting a book on my face is starting to become second nature. Some good stuff. Soon enough, I'll just wake up in the mornings and instinctually keep the book on my face, you know, throughout the whole day. I'll just cut like a little hole, like I'll cut a hole like right here-ish, so that my mouth can get through, and then 2 little like eye holes. And that way, I can just keep the book on my face all day. What could be better? I certainly can't think of anything. A book a day keeps the teacher away. It is fascinating what all we can gain from books, dude. How much we can experience through simply tales. How much we can glean through only words. It's a cool thing. I've been a big proprietor for a long time now that words are a powerful thing. Yeah, man, books are great. I saw, so I'm working at a camp this week. That's why I got up super duper early. And it warmed my heart to see that, like, there were a fair amount of kids when it came to lunchtime that whoosh, whipped out a book, started reading. I was like, you go, guys. You go. Read those books. I mean, in all honesty, I kind of just, I don't know. I expected to see, like, all the kids do what I saw some of the kids did, which is pull out a tablet or an iPhone or something like that. Which, to be fair, if they did, hey, that's fine. They can do that. It's their break. And they deserve to do with it what they will. But, I don't know. Books a good alternative. Well, speaking of books, last time on Percy Jackson and the Battle of the Labyrinth, our heroes had confronted Grover due to Chiron's request about his need to travel underground. Why would he need to do that? He is a satyr, and satyrs hate going underground. Well, as Annabeth and Percy said, it is because that the labyrinth is underneath the ground, and it is the labyrinth that could be the key to finding Pan. Oh gosh. Sorry, I jumped into that so quick. My bad, May. Dude, picture books are super nice. So Percy and Annabeth sat with Grover, and Grover explained to them that he just feels like he can't do it. and in turn feels like his world is coming crashing down, you know? His entire life has been spent trying to do what those that had come before him tried to do, just to gain their searcher's license and to go out and finally locate the being that they care for so dearly, known as Pan. Supposedly the deity over all nature. He feels that he's incapable of doing this next thing in order to pursue that goal, and thus is starting to lose hope. Thankfully, Percy and Annabeth are there for him, though, and do their best to try to convince him that this might be something that he can do. After getting some sly looks due to Annabeth having come over to Percy's table at breakfast, which is a big no-no in the Half-Blood Hill community, as all kids are required to stay at the tables designated for them, right? The tables that are designated for the deity that they are the child of. So Annabeth moseyed on over to Percy's table anyways, because they had important matters to discuss. And Percy felt that, hey, not gonna lie, I'm pretty happy about the fact that Annabeth would break a rule for me, which was a cute little tidbit that was thrown in there. Soon enough, the guy that is definitely not Irish that I know now, Quintus, the new swords trainer, sword fighting trainer, who is a grown half-blood, finally shot Annabeth a look and cleared his throat a little bit to give the idea that, hey, maybe you've been there a little longer than you're welcome. So they moved on, and shoot, I lost his name seconds after I saw it. Quintus, sorry. Then Quintus told everyone that night there would be a special challenge for the campers. Those crates that Percy had seen after training with Quintus one-on-one, that seemed to be rattling and shaking slightly and had, fragile on the sides or something like that, or danger on the sides. Those boxes, he noticed, weren't there anymore. And that is because whatever was inside of them was let out into the forest. The campers were charged with going out and seeking out these monsters in groups of 2 and slaying the monster and taking what is the package that is wrapped to it. Whoever brings back the correct package, the one with the actual item that they need to find, would get some kind of consolation prize. Percy and Annabeth wound up together, along with Tyson and Grover being paired as well, which Grover, not being super fond of Cyclopses, made for a bit of a sorry crew. Annabeth and Percy wound up going in together, winding up at Zeus's fist, as they call it, this giant pile of rocks that, if you look at it from the right angle, looks like a fist, that acts as a rendezvous point for most kids whenever they're out in the forest, hunting monsters or doing capture the flag. But all of a sudden, after having a brief conversation with Juniper, Grover's girlfriend, and hearing out her worries about Grover, one of the monsters appeared, and it turned out to be this giant scorpion that came scuttling towards them. And so, they instantly went into action, figuring out a plan and executing it. But what threw a wrench into their plan was not just one other scorpion, giant one, but 2 other giant scorpions started scuttling in from all sides. Why there were 3 out of the 6 that were coming specifically after Percy and Annabeth they didn't know. But what they did know is they needed to run. Because 1, they could handle. 2, maybe with some luck. But 3, no way. So Percy, after bringing Annabeth along the side of the rocks, sees in the rocks a crevice or an opening that he could have swore hadn't been there before in all the years he's been there. But he believed that it was their only way out of that sticky situation, so he told Annabeth to go first, and she did. But she did it hesitantly, but soon enough, he was dragged in as well, because she didn't just walk in, she fell in. Because it wasn't just a crevice, it was a drop-off. So they fall down into this cavern, and suddenly they look up, and the cave is entirely dark. The crevice that they had come through had disappeared, along with the scorpions, thankfully. Annabeth quickly realizes that, oh my gosh, this is the labyrinth. They found an opening that led to the labyrinth. Annabeth, after panicking for a moment and grabbing Percy's hand to know that someone else was there to comfort her and bring down her nerves, she quickly figures out a way for them to escape by the route that they came. After some maneuvering of some rocks and some reading of runes, they climb their way out, and the challenge was over. They heard people screaming their names. Grover and Tyson, certainly the loudest, but also Clarice and Chiron and the whole gaggle of half-blood peeps. And it turned out that they'd been down there for an hour, and the game was through. Clarice had won. Clarice and her partner had won already. Why they were down there for an hour, it's unclear. Seems like being down in the labyrinth dilutes time. Probably in a different manner, but similar to how the Lotus Hotel did that a long while back in our first book, I think, or in the first book. So, with realizing what this new entrance spells for the fate of Half-Blood Hill, we go into the next chapter, wondering what kind of action our heroes will take going forward. Oh, sorry, I missed it. A chat. Looks like a flat, or looks like a pile of poo. What does? What? Oh, a fist. Oh shoot, the Zeus's fist. That's right, there was the comment in there, where if you look at it from one angle, it looks like a strong fist. But if you look at it from other angles, it kind of looks like a pile of dung. Shoot. Nice, I think that spells enough of a recap. I know it was only one chapter, but I feel like these recaps are getting more and more complex. Why ever not, Chiron? Dude, what's the deal? Why can't we call it Dung Rock Hill or something? Yeah. Big spoiler time is about to start, May. Right on. I'll see you then. Check on us in about 30 minutes, I think. Hope to see you then. So. Thank you, May. So. This is Percy Jackson and the Battle of the Labyrinth by Rick Riordan. 4. Annabeth breaks the rules. Chiron had insisted we talk about it in the morning, which was kind of like, hey, your life's in mortal danger. Sleep tight. It was hard to fall asleep. But when I finally did, I dreamed of a prison. I saw a boy in a Greek tunic and sandals, crouching alone in a massive stone room. The ceiling was open to the night sky, but the walls were 20 feet high and polished marble, completely smooth. Scattered around the room were wooden crates. Some were cracked and tipped over, as if they'd been flung in there. Bronze tools spilled out of one, a compass, a saw, and a bunch of other things I didn't recognize. The boy huddled in the corner, shivering from cold, or maybe fear. He was spattered in mud. His legs, arms, and face were scraped up, as if he'd been dragged here along with the boxes. Then the double oak doors moaned open. 2 guards in bronze armor marched in, holding an old man between them. They flung him to the floor in a battered heap. "Father!" The boy ran to him. The man's robes were in tatters. His hair was streaked with gray, and his beard was long and curly. His nose had been broken, his lips bloody. The boy took the old man's head in his arms. "What did they do to you?" Then he yelled at the guards, "I'll kill you!" "There will be no killing today," a voice said. The guards moved aside. Behind them stood a tall man in white robes. He wore a thin circlet of gold on his head. His beard was pointed, like a spear blade. His eyes glittered cruelly. "You helped the Athenian kill my Minotaur, Daedalus. You turned my own daughter against me." "You did that yourself, your majesty," the old man croaked. A guard planted a kick in the old man's ribs. He groaned in agony. The young boy cried, "Stop!" "You love your maize so much," the king said. "I have decided to let you stay here. This will be your workshop. Make me new wonders. Amuse me. Every maze needs a monster. You shall be mine." "I do not fear you," the old man groaned. The king smiled coldly. He locked his eyes on the boy. "But a man cares about his son, eh? Displease me, old man, and the next time my guards inflict a punishment, it will be on him!" The king swept out of the room with his guards, and the doors slammed shut, leaving the boy and his father alone in the darkness. "What will we do?" the boy moaned. "Father, they will kill you." The old man swallowed with difficulty. He tried to smile, but it was a gruesome sight with his bloody mouth. "Take heart, my son." He gazed up at the stars. I will find a way." A bar lowered across the doors with a fatal boom, and I woke in a cold sweat. I was still feeling shaky the next morning when Chiron called a war council. We met in the sword arena, which I thought was pretty strange, trying to discuss the fate of the camp while Mrs. O'Leary chewed on a life-size squeaky pink rubber yak. Trying to discuss the fate of the camp while Mrs. O'Leary chewed on a life-size squeaky pink rubber yak. Chiron and Quintus stood at the front by the weapon racks. Clarice and Annabeth sat next to each other and led the briefing. Tyson and Grover sat as far away from each other as possible. Also present around the table, Juniper, the tree nymph, Selena Beauregard, Travis and Connor Stoll, Beckendorf, Lee Fletcher, even Argus, our 100-eyed security chief. That's how I knew it was serious. Argus hardly ever shows up unless something really major is going on. The whole time Annabeth spoke, he kept his 100 blue eyes trained on her so hard, his whole body turned bloodshot. Luke must have known about the Labyrinth entrance, Annabeth said. He knew everything about camp. I thought I heard a little pride in her voice, like she still respected the guy, as evil as he was. Juniper cleared her throat. That's why I was trying to tell you last night. The cave entrance has been there a long time. Luke used to use it. Selena Beauregard frowned. You knew about the Labyrinth entrance, and you didn't say anything? Juniper's face turned green. I didn't know it was important. Just a cave? I don't like yucky old caves. She has good taste, Grover said. I wouldn't have paid any attention except... Well, it was Luke. She blushed a little greener. Grover huffed. Forget about what I said about good taste. Interesting. Quintus polished his sword as he spoke. And you believe this young man, Luke, would dare to use the Labyrinth as an invasion route? Definitely, Clarice said. If we could get an army of monsters inside Camp Half-Blood, just pop up in the middle of the woods without having to worry about our magical boundaries, we wouldn't stand a chance. He would wipe us out easy. He must have been planning this for months. He's been sending scouts into the maze, Annabeth said. We know because we found one. Chris Rodriguez, Chiron said. He gave Quintus a meaningful look. Ah, Quintus said. The one in the... Yes, I understand. The one in the what? I asked. Clarice glared at me. The point is, Luke has been looking for a way to navigate the maze. He's searching for Daedalus's workshop. I remembered my dream the night before. The bloody old man in tattered robes. The guy who created the maze. Yes, Annabeth said. The greatest architect. The greatest inventor of all time. The legends are true. His workshop is in the center of the labyrinth. He's the only one who knew how to navigate the maze perfectly. If Luke managed to find the workshop and convince Daedalus to help him, Luke wouldn't have to fumble around searching for paths, or risk losing his army in the maze's traps. He could navigate anywhere he wanted, quickly and safely. First to Camp Half-Blood to wipe us out, then to Olympus. The arena was silent, except for Mrs. O'Leary's toy yak getting disemboweled. Squeak! Finally, Beckendorf put his huge hands on the table. Back up a sec. Annabeth, you said convince Daedalus. Isn't Daedalus dead? Quintus grunted. I hope so. He lived, 3,000 years ago? And even if he were alive, don't the old stories say he fled from the labyrinth? Chiron clopped restlessly on his hooves. That's the problem, my dear Quintus. No one knows. There are rumors. Well, there are many disturbing rumors about Daedalus, but one is that he disappeared back into the labyrinth towards the end of his life. He might still be down there. I thought about the old man I'd seen in my dream. He looked so frail. It was hard to believe he'd last another week, much less 3,000 years. "We need to go in," Annabeth announced. "We have to find the workshop before Luke does. If Daedalus is alive, we convince him to help us, not Luke. If Ariadne's string still exists, we make sure it never falls into Luke's hands." "Wait a second," I said. "If we're worried about an attack, why not just blow up the entrance? Seal the tunnel?" "Great idea," Grover said. "I'll get the dynamite." "It's not so easy, stupid," Clarice growled. "We tried that at the entrance we found in Phoenix. It didn't go well." Annabeth nodded. "The labyrinth is magical architecture, Percy. It would take a huge power to seal even one of its entrances. In Phoenix, Clarice demolished a whole building with a wrecking ball, and the maze entrance just shifted a few feet. The best we can do is prevent Luke from learning to navigate the labyrinth." "We could fight," Lee Fletcher said. "We know where the entrance is now. We can set up a defensive line and wait for them. If an army tries to come through, they'll find us waiting with our bows." "We will certainly set up defenses," Chiron agreed. "But I fear Clarice is right. The magical borders have kept this camp safe for hundreds of years. If Luke manages to get a large army of monsters into the center of camp, bypassing our boundaries, we may not have the strength to defeat them." Nobody looked real happy about that news. Chiron usually tried to be upbeat and optimistic. If he was predicting we couldn't hold off an attack, that wasn't good. "You have to get to Daedalus's workshop first," Annabeth said, and insisted. "Find Ariadne's string and prevent Luke from using it." "But if nobody can navigate in there," I said, "what chance do we have?" "I've been studying architecture for years," she said. "I know Daedalus's labyrinth better than anybody." "From reading about it?" "Well, yes. That's not enough." "It has to be." "It isn't." "Are you going to help me or not?" I realized everyone was watching Annabeth and me like a tennis match. Mrs. O'Leary's squeaky yak went as she ripped off its pink rubber head. Chiron cleared his throat. "First things first, we need a quest. Someone must enter the labyrinth, find the workshop of Daedalus, and prevent Luke from using the maze to invade this camp." "We all know who should lead this," Clarice said. "Annabeth." There was a murmur of agreement. I knew Annabeth had been waiting for her own quest since she was a little kid. But she looked uncomfortable. You've done as much as I have, Clarice," she said. "You should go too." Clarice shook her head. "I'm not going back in there." Travis Stoll laughed. "Don't tell me you're scared. Clarice? Chicken?" Clarice got to her feet. I thought she was going to pulverize Travis, but she said in a shaky voice, "I don't understand anything, punk. Never going in there again. Never." She stormed out of the arena. Travis looked around sheepishly. I didn't mean to... Chiron raised his hand. "The poor girl has had a difficult year. Now, do we have agreement that Annabeth should lead the quest?" We all nodded, except Quintus. He folded his arms and stared at the table, but I wasn't sure anyone else noticed. Very well. Chiron turned to Annabeth. My dear, it's your time to visit the Oracle. Assuming you return to us in one piece, we shall discuss what to do next. Waiting for Annabeth was harder than visiting the Oracle myself. I'd heard it speak prophecies twice before. The first time had been in the dusty attic of the big house, where the spirit of Delphi slept inside the body of the mummified hippie lady. The second time, the Oracle had come out for a little stroll in the woods. I still had nightmares about that. I'd never felt threatened by the Oracle's presence, but I'd heard stories. Campers who'd gone insane, or who'd seen visions so real they died of fear. I paced the arena waiting. Mrs. O'Leary ate her lunch, which consisted of 100 pounds of ground beef and several dog biscuits the size of trash can lids. I wondered where Quintus got dog biscuits that size. I didn't figure you could just walk into Pet Zone and put those in your shopping cart or something. Chiron was deep in conversation with Quintus and August. It looked to me like they were disagreeing about something. Quintus kept shaking his head. On the other side of the arena, Tyson and the Stoll brothers were racing miniature bronze chariots that Tyson had made out of armor scraps. I gave up on pacing and left the arena. I stared across the fields at the big house's attic window, dark and still. What was taking Annabeth so long? I was pretty sure it hadn't taken me this long to get my quest. Percy, a girl whispered. Juniper was standing in the bushes. It was weird how she almost turned invisible when she was surrounded by plants. She gestured me over urgently. You need to know, Luke wasn't the only one I saw around that cave. What do you mean? She glanced back at the arena. I was trying to say something, but he was right there. She glanced back at the arena. I was trying to say something, but he was right there. Who? The sword master, she said. He was poking around the rocks. My stomach clenched. Quintus? When? I don't know. I don't pay attention to time. Maybe a week ago? When he first showed up. What was he doing? Did he go in? I'm not sure. He's creepy, Percy. I didn't even see him come into the glade. Suddenly, he was just there. You have to tell Grover it's too dangerous. Juniper? Grover called from inside the arena. Where'd you go? Juniper sighed. I'd better go in. Just remember what I said. Don't trust that man. She ran into the arena. I stared at the big house, feeling more uneasy than ever. If Quintus was up to something, I needed Annabeth's advice. She might know what to make of Juniper's news. But where the heck was she? Whatever was happening with the Oracle, it shouldn't be taking this long. Finally, I couldn't stand it anymore. It was against the rules, but then again, nobody was watching. I ran down the hill and headed across the fields. The front parlor of the big house was strangely quiet. I was used to seeing Dionysus by the fireplace, playing cards and eating grapes and griping at satyrs, but Mr. D was still away. I walked down the hallway, floorboards creaking under my feet. When I got to the base of the stairs, I hesitated. 4 floors above would be a little trapdoor leading to the attic. Annabeth would be up there somewhere. I stood quietly and listened. But what I heard wasn't what I had expected. Sobbing. And it was coming from below me. I crept around the back of the stairs. The basement door was open. I didn't even know the big house had a basement. I peered inside and saw 2 figures, in the far corner, sitting amid a bunch of stockpiled cases of ambrosia and strawberry preserves. One was Clarice. The other was a teenage Hispanic guy in tattered camouflage pants and a dirty black t-shirt. His hair was greasy and matted. He was hugging his shoulders and sobbing. It was Chris Rodriguez, the half-blood who'd gone to work for Luke. "It's okay," Clarice was telling him. "Try a little more nectar." "You're an illusion, Mary." Chris backed further into the corner. Get away." "My name's not Mary." Clarice's voice was gentle, but really sad. I never knew Clarice could sound that way. "My name is Clarice. Remember, please." "It's dark," Chris yelled. "So dark." "Come outside," Clarice coaxed. "The sunlight will help you." A thousand skulls. The earth keeps healing him." "Chris," Clarice pleaded, sound like she was close to tears. "You have to get better. Please. Mr. D will be back soon. He's an expert in madness. Just hang on." Chris's eyes were like a cornered rat's, wild and desperate. "There's no way out, Mary. No way out." Then he caught a glimpse of me and made a strangled, terrified sound. "The son of Poseidon! He's horrible!" I backed away, hoping Clarice hadn't seen me. I listened for her to come charging out and yell at me, but instead she just kept talking to Chris in a sad, pleading voice, trying to get him to drink the nectar. Maybe she thought it was part of Chris's hallucination, but son of Poseidon. Chris had been looking at me, and yet, why did I get the feeling he hadn't been talking about me at all? And Clarice's tenderness. It had never even occurred to me that she might like someone. But the way she said Chris's name, she'd known him before he changed sides. She'd known him a lot better than I realized. And now he was shivering in a dark basement, afraid to come out, and mumbling about someone named Mary. No wonder Clarice didn't want anything to do with the Labyrinth. What had happened to Chris in there? I heard a creak from above, like the attic door opening, and I ran for the front door. I needed to get out of that house.
"My dear," Chiron said,
You made it. You made it. Annabeth walked into the arena. She sat on a stone bench and stared at the floor. Well? Quintus asked. Annabeth looked at me first. I couldn't tell if she was trying to warn me, or if the look in her eyes was just plain fear. Then she focused on Quintus. I got the prophecy. I will lead the quest to find Daedalus's workshop. Nobody cheered. I mean, we all liked Annabeth, and we wanted her to have a quest, but this one seemed insanely dangerous. After what I'd seen of Chris Rodriguez, I didn't even want to think about Annabeth descending into that weird maze again. Chiron scraped a hoof on the dirt floor. What did the prophecy say exactly, my dear? The wording is important. Annabeth took a deep breath. Well, it said, "You shall delve in the darkness of the endless maze." We waited. The dead, the traitor, and the lost one raise. Grover perked up. The lost one? That must mean Pan. Well, that's great. With the dead and the traitor, I added. Not so great. And? Chiron asked. What is the rest? You shall rise or fall by the Ghost King's hand, Annabeth said. The child of Athena's final stand. Everyone looked around uncomfortably. Annabeth was a daughter of Athena, and a final stand didn't sound good. Hey, we shouldn't jump to conclusions, Selena said. Annabeth isn't the only child of Athena, right? But who is this Ghost King? Beckendorf asked. No one answered. I thought about the Iris message I'd seen of Nico summoning spirits. I had a bad feeling the prophecy was connected to that. Are there more lines? Chiron asked. The prophecy does not sound complete. Annabeth hesitated. I don't remember exactly. Chiron raised an eyebrow. Annabeth was known for her memory. She never forgot something she heard. Annabeth shifted on her bench. Something about destroy with a hero's final breath. And? Chiron asked. She stood. Look, the point is I have to go in. I'll find the workshop and stop Luke. And I need help. She turned to me. Will you come? I didn't even hesitate. I'm in. She smiled for the first time in days. And that made it all worthwhile. Grover, you too? The wild god is waiting. Grover seemed to forget how much he hated the underground. The line about the lost one had completely energized him. I'll pack extra recyclables for snacks. And Tyson, Annabeth said. I'll need you too. Yay! Blow things up time. Tyson clapped so hard it woke up Mrs. O'Leary, who was dozing in the corner. Wait, Annabeth, Chiron said. This goes against the ancient laws. A hero is allowed only 2 companions. I need them all, she insisted. Chiron, it's important. I didn't know why she was so certain, but I was happy she included Tyson. I couldn't imagine leaving him behind. He was huge and strong and great at figuring out mechanical things. Unlike satyrs, cyclopses had no problems underground. Annabeth, Chiron flicked his tail nervously. Consider well. You would be breaking the ancient laws, and there are always consequences. Last winter, 5 went on a quest to save Artemis. Only 3 came back. Think on that. 3 is a sacred number. There are 3 fates, 3 furies, 3 Olympian sons of Kronos. It is a good, strong number that stands against many dangers. 4. This is risky. Annabeth took a deep breath. I know, but we have to. Please. I could tell Chiron didn't like it. Quintus was studying us like he was trying to decide which of us would come back alive. Chiron sighed. Very well. Let us adjourn. The members of the quest must prepare themselves. Tomorrow at dawn, we send you into the labyrinth. Quintus pulled me aside as the council was breaking up. I have a bad feeling about this, he told me. Mrs. O'Leary came over, wagging her tail happily. She dropped her shield at my feet, and I threw it for her. Quintus watched her romp after it. I remembered what Juniper had said about him scouting out the maze. I didn't trust him, but when he looked at me, I saw real concern in his eyes. I don't like the idea of you going down there, he said. Any of you. But if you must, I want you to remember something. The labyrinth exists to fool you. It will distract you. That's dangerous for half-bloods. We are easily distracted. You've been in there? Long ago. His voice was ragged. I barely escaped with my life. Most who enter aren't that lucky. He gripped my shoulder. Percy, keep your mind on what matters most. If you can do that, you might find the way. And here, wanted to give you something. He handed me a little silver tube. It was so cold I almost dropped it. A whistle? I asked. A dog whistle, Quintus said. For Mrs. O'Leary. Thanks, but how will it work in the maze? I'm not 100% certain it will. But Mrs. O'Leary is a hellhound. She can appear when called, no matter how far away she is. I feel better knowing you had this. If you really need help, use it. But be careful. The whistle is made of Stygian ice. What ice? From the river Styx. Oh, Stygian ice. What ice? From the river Styx. Styx. Very hard to craft. Very delicate. It cannot melt, but it will shatter when you blow it. So you can only use it once. I thought about Luke, my old enemy. Right before I'd gone on my first quest, Luke had given me a gift, too. Magic shoes that had been designed to drag me to my death. Quintus seemed so nice, so concerned, and Mrs. O'Leary liked him, which had to count for something. She dropped the slimy shield at my feet and barked excitedly. I felt ashamed that I could even think about mistrusting Quintus. But then again, I trusted Luke once. Thanks, I told Quintus. I slipped the freezing whistle into my pocket, promising myself that I would never use it, and I dashed off to find Annabeth. As long as I'd been at camp, I'd never been inside the Athena cabin. It was a silvery building, nothing fancy, with plain white curtains and a carved stone owl over the doorway. The owl's onyx eyes seemed to follow me as I walked closer. "Hello?" I called inside. Nobody answered. I stepped in and caught my breath. The place was a workshop for brainiac kids. The bunks were all pushed against one wall, as if sleeping didn't matter very much. Most of the room was filled with workbenches and tables, in sets of tools and weapons. The back of the room was a huge library, crammed with old scrolls. Old scrolls and leather-bound books and paperbacks. There was an architect's drafting table, with a bunch of rulers and protractors, and some 3D models of buildings. Huge, old war maps were plastered to the ceiling. Sets of armor hung under the windows, their bronze plates glinting in the sun. Annabeth stood in the back of the room, rifling through old scrolls. "Knock, knock," I said. She turned with a start. "Oh, hi. Didn't hear you." "You okay?" She frowned at the scroll in her hands. "Just trying to do some research. Daedalus's Labyrinth is so huge. None of the stories agree about anything. The maps just lead from nowhere to nowhere." I thought about what Quintus had said, how the maze tries to distract you. I wonder if Annabeth knew that already. "We'll figure it out," I promised. Her hair had come loose and was hanging in a tangled blonde curtain all around her face. Her gray eyes looked almost black. "I've wanted to lead a quest since I was 7, she said. "You're going to do awesome." She looked at me gratefully, but then stared down at all the books and scrolls she'd pulled from the shelves. "I'm worried, Percy. Maybe I shouldn't have asked you to do this. Or Tyson. Or Grover." "Hey, we're your friends. We wouldn't miss it." "But..." She stopped herself. "What is it?" I asked. "The prophecy?" "I'm sure it's fine," she said in a small voice. What was the last line? Then she did something that really surprised me. She blinked back tears and put out her arms. I stepped forward and hugged her. Butterflies started turning my stomach into a mosh pit. "Hey, it's okay. It's okay." I patted her back. I was aware of everything in the room. I felt like I could read the tiniest print on any book on the shelves. Annabeth's hair smelled like lemon soap. She was shivering. "Chiron might be right," she muttered. "I'm breaking the rules, but I don't know what else to do. I need you 3. It just feels right." "Then don't worry about it," I managed. "We've had plenty of problems before, and we solved them." "This is different. I don't want anything to happen to any of you." Behind me, somebody cleared his throat. It was one of Annabeth's half-brothers, Malcolm. His face was bright red. Sorry, he said. Archery practice is starting, Annabeth. Chiron said to come find you. I stepped away from Annabeth. We were just looking at maps, I said stupidly. Malcolm stared at me. Okay. Tell Chiron I'll be right there, Annabeth said. Malcolm left in a hurry. Annabeth rubbed her eyes. You go ahead, Percy. I'd better get ready for archery. I nodded, feeling more confused than I ever had in my life. I wanted to run from the cabin, but then again, I didn't. Annabeth, I said, about your prophecy. The line about a hero's last breath. You're wondering which hero? I don't know. No, something else. I was thinking the last line usually rhymes with the one before it. Was it something about... Did it end in the word death? Annabeth stared down at her scrolls. Better go, Percy. Get ready for the quest. I'll see you in the morning. I left her there, staring at maps that led from nowhere to nowhere. But I couldn't shake the feeling that one of us wasn't going to come back from this quest alive. Dude, foreboding much, Mr. Riordan? Riordan? Foreboding much? Dude, I completely agree. He'd just be feeding the ship. And honestly, I couldn't be more down with it. Ah, dude. It's so good. I can't think of any other way I'd want to spend this evening. Gosh, it's so weird too. Like we are only 4 chapters in, and already we've made it like a solid chunk of the way through the book. Wild. Foreboding or foreboding? Coincidence? Chapter 4 has the foreboding prophecy come into play? You make a good point, dude. I need to no longer be wearing a jacket. For some reason in my room, there's like a stark contrast. Occasionally, it'll be crazy super cold, like during the day. And then right around like 7 to 8 o'clock, it gets warm again. And then right around bedtime, it cools down again. Which, I mean, honestly, it works pretty well. Dad jokes. Heck yeah. Yeah, a small break. And we're about to head on to the break, where I go and make water and stretch and whatnot. These chapters are packed nicely. I couldn't agree more, man. Yeah, trying to think what was my favorite part of that one. Honest to goodness, I know this chapter had that sweet as heck moment with Percy and Annabeth. My favorite moment of it might have been Clarice's part. The moment when Percy recognizes Clarice's humanity, right? Recognizes that she isn't all that different from the other people he knows. She still loves She still cares. Despite the way she goes about it sometimes. Yeah, but it's hard to beat the hug. Yeah, man, especially like the way it's written. The whole awareness thing really gets me. Because if anybody has fallen in love, right? You know that moment, right, where something incredible happens between you and the person you care so deeply for, and suddenly, yeah, I want to read this part one more time. I was aware of everything in the room. I felt like I could read the tiniest print on any book on the shelves. Annabeth's hair smelled like lemon soap. She was shivering. And it doesn't expound upon it too much, but I felt I wanted to really harken on that. Dude, yeah, she has been through some stuff. Heck, when she was 7, she was on the run from freaking monsters. Like, when I was 7, I was just thinking, like, I was afraid of monsters that weren't actually there. When Annabeth was 7, she was afraid of monsters that were there, and were genuinely trying to kill her. Wild, man. Yeah. I mean, disastrous, like, trauma-ridden scenarios make for good opportunities to show some love. Yeah. I don't know. I think that in the greatest moments, the biggest moments of tragedy and despair, in those moments, there is the greatest potential for the most powerful love and kindness that there is, you know? Oh yeah, dude, Clarice. You know, she's genuinely having like Vietnam flashback level of stuff whenever she'd be thinking about the Labyrinth. Which kind of sucks, dude. I want to know what happened. I don't know. I'm fine with not knowing, I suppose, but if he wrote like a little short story or something just about like, hey, here's what happened to Clarice, by the way, when she went on that other quest, I would read it. Dude, I'm so happy. Actually, I put my tea in a Yeti this time, so it's actually gonna stay warm. Good stuff. Well, alrighty guys, we have hit the hour, nearing the hour and 20 marker, so it's time for a break. Yeah. As always, guys, I pray that you get up from your chair, right? My suggestion is humbly to stand up during the break, shake out your troubles, shimmy out your tribulations, let your body move a little bit, right? Get your body moving, stretch out. Your body will thank you in the morning, I promise. I'm gonna go do the same. Grab any snacks or drinks that you might need. Maybe grab a cup of tea or a hot cocoa or something, like a nice soothing drink to go along with the touching moments of Rick Riordan's writing. Heck yeah, dude. Ice cream would do fine too. What flavor, if you don't mind me asking? Hey yo, ice cream buds. Let's go. Sadly, I don't have any ice cream in my fridge. But I did get myself some candy today though. I tried out like the trolley watermelon sharks. And honestly, not that great. They should stick to doing gummy worms. It had that kind of consistency that like a what do you call them? Like more of that like gumdrop consistency where it just gets all stuck up in your teeth, dude. That's just not a good time. it tasted alright. Don't get me wrong. It was still candy, but but not the best thing I've had. Thank you, May. I hope you have a pleasant break too. Nice. Cookie dough. That cookie dough. Alrighty, guys. Don't go nowhere. We'll be back with Chapter 5 when we return. Till then, keep on swaying. I'll see you soon. Much love. Bzzz.
The boredom latches onto me. It is daylight, 81 degrees. I should be outside, enjoying the breeze. But I've been hiding in these same sheets for weeks. Well, I say to you, let's go back to bed, 'cause there are some things that you better let die. Say, oh. Well, this medication's strong, and if you didn't know, I guess you always have to try before you know. You say come here, love, but it'll be fine. Just come play with me. Ignoring reality, I said it's only a dream. It's only a dream. I wish you could somehow complete me. I would give it to you all now, but I kinda lost my key. I've been hiding, but I kinda lost the dream. I've been hiding, but I kinda lost the dream. Well, this medication's strong, and if you don't know, I guess you always have to try before you know. You say come here, love, well, it'll be fine. Just talk to me. Ignoring reality, it's only a dream.
Whoa! Hello! Welcome back. I sincerely hope everybody had a, more than fine break. An excellent break, in fact. um, I pray everybody collected their things and got themselves all stretched out and ready for some more Percy Jackson. Thank you, May. It's good to be back. I had a pretty nice break myself. I went and hit the restroom, which, after a a fair amount of sips of tea, was certainly in the roster of my to-do list. um, but yeah, and now I'm back. I did some stretching too, and I'm feeling good, feeling relaxed, ready for some more reading. There's still tons of tea, dude. Are you kidding me? I'd say at least half left, maybe more. Oh yeah. I even doubled up on the tea packages, you know? I put 2 of them in there for extra, for double the tea flavor, double the tea experience. Know what I mean? It is nice. I for a little bit there I was putting like brown sugar in it, but I've switched to just doing honey, and I think that's makes it a little nicer. Leads to like a better coating of the throat and some more natural sugars. But heck yeah. I don't know, how is everybody? I see May is present and on deck. Heck yeah. How are you, May? How you feeling? You are epic. Yes. Heck yeah, dude. I'm glad to hear it. I myself don't know if I'm epic, but I certainly am sexy. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, hey, heck, I do regard myself as a handsome gentleman, as a handsome young man, but um, but I don't know about epic. Nice. I am epic. Sick. I had a feeling. Just wasn't entirely sure. Um, I'm epic and sexy. No, thank you, dude. Seriously. Making my cheeks flush. Frick. Well, guys. We've gotten to an exciting portion of the book, and the deeper we go, I imagine, the more excitement and fun there will be. So, shall we? Who's ready? Shoot me an emote in the chat if you are ready for some reading. Yeah, and prepare yourselves for more spoilers too, I suppose. By the way, May, what book are you on now? And how far have you gotten in the series? And how are you liking it so far? There's a sugar emote.
That's a sweet emote, dude. Pardon my joke. Still on the second one. Right on. That's a good one. That's where we first meet Dear Tyson. Dear Tysonian. Someday. No worries, man. No rush. Please do not feel it is any kind of obligation. I want you to take your time with them and really soak it in and enjoy. I know these are the books when I was reading them the first time that I just kind of slurped in, you know, that kind of just non-stop reading that just gets it all in super fast. It's like sitting down with a plate of spaghetti and just like non-stop slurping the whole time until it's all done. but with a book. So that's a proper analogy. Or metaphor? Dude, I'm honestly not sure. What is the difference between... Does anybody know what's the difference between an analogy and a metaphor? I've been worried about this for like a while. Like it's come up every now and then, and I second guess myself a lot. I could use a refresher. What be the difference between an analogy and a darn metaphor? I couldn't tell. I couldn't say. I know a simile, right, is where you say like, where you use like. You go like, hey, this thing is like this. A metaphor is more of a legitimate, something that encapsulates an idea, but does it not clearly, right? That hints at a message or something. Dude, I don't know. Words hard, brain hurt. Help. Indeed. Well, speaking of words, I mean, analogy is to compare two things, and metaphor is to call something like on a cooler way. I like that. I like that distinction. No, honestly, I like that distinction. It's like, you see, an analogy is like just to compare it, but if you want to do it the cool way, get yourself a metaphor. Well, allow me to take one sip of my tea and we'll get underway. So, this is Percy Jackson and the Battle of the Labyrinth by Rick Riordan. Five. Nico buys Happy Meals for the dead. At least I got a good night's sleep before the quest, right? Wrong. That night, in my dreams, I was in the stateroom of the Princess Andromeda. The windows were open on a moonlit sea. Cold wind rustled the velvet drapes. Luke knelt on a Persian rug in front of the golden sarcophagus of Kronos. In the moonlight, Luke's blonde hair looked pure white. He wore an ancient Greek chiton and a white himation, a kind of cape that flowed down his shoulders. The white clothes made him look timeless and a little unreal. like one of the minor gods on Mount Olympus. The last time I'd seen him, he'd been broken and unconscious after a nasty fall from Mount Tom. Now he looked perfectly fine, almost too healthy. "Our spies report success, my lord," he said. "Camp Half-Blood is sending a quest, as you predicted. Our side of the bargain is almost complete." "Excellent." The voice of Kronos didn't so much speak as pierce my mind like a dagger. It was freezing with cruelty. "Once we have the means to navigate, I will lead the vanguard through myself." Luke closed his eyes as if collecting his thoughts. "My lord, perhaps it is too soon. Perhaps Krios and Hyperion should lead—" "No!" The voice was quiet, but absolutely firm. "I will lead. One more heart shall join our cause, and that will be sufficient. At last I shall rise fully from Tartarus." "But the form, my lord—" Luke's voice started shaking. "Show me your sword, Luke Castellan." A jolt went through me. I realized I'd never heard Luke's last name before. It had never even occurred to me. Luke drew his sword. Backbiter's double edge glowed wickedly, half steel, half celestial bronze. I'd almost been killed several times by that sword. It was an evil weapon, able to kill both mortals and monsters. It was the only blade I really feared. "You pledge yourself to me," Kronos reminded him. "You took this sword as proof of your oath." "Yes, my lord, it's just—" "You wanted power. I gave you that. You are now beyond harm. Soon you will rule the world of gods and mortals. Do you not wish to avenge yourself? To see Olympus destroyed?" A shiver ran through Luke's body. "Yes." The coffin glowed, golden light filling the room. "Then make ready the strike force. As soon as the bargain is done, we shall move forward. First, Camp Half-Blood will be reduced to ashes. Once those bothersome heroes are eliminated, we will march on Olympus." There was a knock on the stateroom doors. The light of the coffin faded. Luke rose. He sheathed his sword, adjusted his white clothes, and took a deep breath. "Come in." The doors opened. 2 drachnae slithered in, snake women with double serpent trunks instead of legs. Between them walked Kelly, the Imposa cheerleader, from my freshman orientation. "Hello, Luke." Kelly smiled. She was wearing a red dress, and she looked awesome. But I'd seen her real form. I knew what she was hiding. Mismatched legs, red eyes, fangs, and flaming hair. "What is it, demon?" Luke's voice was cold. "I told you not to disturb me." Kelly pouted. That's not very nice. You look tense. How about a nice shoulder massage?" Luke stepped back. If you have something to report, say it. Otherwise, leave. I don't know why you're so huffy these days. You used to be fun to hang around. That was before I saw what you did to that boy in Seattle. Oh, he meant nothing to me, Kelly said. Just a snack, really. You know my heart belongs to you, Luke. Thanks, but no thanks. Now report or get out. Kelly shrugged. Fine. The advance team is ready, as you requested. We can leave. She frowned. What is it? A presence, Kelly said. Your senses are getting dull, Luke. We're being watched. She scanned the stateroom, her eyes focused right on me. Her face withered into a hag's. She bared her fangs and lunged. I woke with a start, my heart pounding. I could have sworn the imposter's fangs were an inch from my throat. Tyson was snoring in the next bunk. The sound calmed me down a little. I didn't know how Kelly could sense me in a dream, but I'd heard more than I wanted to know. An army was ready. Kronos would lead it personally. All they needed was a way to navigate the Labyrinth so they could invade and destroy Camp Half-Blood. And Luke apparently thought that was going to happen very soon. I was tempted to go wake up Annabeth and tell her, middle of the night or not. Then I realized the room was lighter than it should have been. A blue-green glow was coming from the saltwater fountain, brighter and more urgent than before. It was almost like the water was humming. I got out of bed and approached. No voice spoke out of the water this time, asking for a deposit. I got the feeling the fountain was waiting for me to make the first move. I probably should have gone back to bed. Instead, I thought about what I'd seen last night. The weird image of Nico at the banks of the river Styx. You're trying to tell me something, I said. No response from the fountain. All right, I said. Show me Nico D'Angelo. I didn't even throw a coin in, but this time, it didn't matter. It was like some other force had control of the water besides Iris, the messenger goddess. The water shimmered. Nico appeared. But he was no longer in the underworld. He was standing in a graveyard under a starry sky. Giant willow trees loomed all around him. He was watching some gravediggers at work. I heard shovels and saw dirt flying out of a hole. Nico was dressed in a black cloak. The night was foggy. It was warm and humid, and frogs were croaking. A large Walmart bag sat next to Nico's feet. Is it deep enough yet? Nico asked. He sounded irritated. Nearly, my lord. It was the same ghost I'd seen Nico with before. The faint shimmering image of a man. But, my lord, I tell you, this is unnecessary. You already have me for advice. I want a second opinion. Nico snapped his fingers and the digging stopped. Two figures climbed out of the hole. They weren't people. They were skeletons in ragged cloths. You are dismissed, Nico said. Thank you. The skeletons collapsed into piles of bones. You might as well thank the shovels, the ghost complained. They have as much sense. Nico ignored him. He reached into his Walmart bag and pulled out a 12-pack of Coke. He popped open a can. Instead of drinking it, he poured it into the grave. "Let the dead taste again," he murmured. "Let them rise and take this offering. Let them remember." He dropped the rest of the Cokes into the grave and pulled out a white paper bag decorated with cartoons. I hadn't seen one in years, but I recognized it. A McDonald's Happy Meal. He turned it upside down and shook the fries and hamburger into the grave. "In my day, he used animal blood," the ghost mumbled. "It's perfectly good enough. They can't taste the difference." "I will treat them with respect," Nico said. "At least let me keep the toy," the ghost said. "Be quiet," Nico ordered. He emptied another 12-pack of soda and 3 more Happy Meals into the grave, then began chanting in ancient Greek. I caught only some of the words. A lot about the dead and memories and returning from the grave. Real happy stuff. The grave started to bubble. Frothy, brown liquid rose to the top like the whole thing was filling with soda. The fog thickened. The frogs stopped their croaking. Dozens of figures began to appear among the gravestones. Bluish, vaguely human shapes. Nico had summoned the dead with Coke and cheeseburgers. "There are too many," the ghost said nervously. "You don't know your own powers." "I have got it under control," Nico said, though his voice sounded fragile. He drew his sword, a short blade made of solid black metal. I'd never seen anything like it. It wasn't celestial bronze or steel. Iron, maybe? The crowd of shades retreated at the sight of it. "One at a time," Nico commanded. A single figure floated forward and knelt at the pool. It made slurping sounds as it drank. Its ghostly hands scooped French fries out of the pool. When it stood again, I could see it much more clearly. A teenage guy in Greek armor. He had curly hair and green eyes, a clasp shaped like a seashell on his cloak. "Who are you?" Nico said. "Speak." The young man frowned, as if trying to remember. Then he spoke in a voice like dry, crumpling paper. "I am Theseus." No way, I thought. This couldn't be the Theseus. He was just a kid. I'd grown up hearing stories about him fighting the Minotaur and stuff, but I'd always pictured him as this huge buff guy. The ghost I was looking at wasn't strong nor tall, and he wasn't any older than I was. "How can I retrieve my sister?" Nico asked. Theseus's eyes were lifeless as glass. "Do not try. It is madness. Just tell me." "My stepfather died," Theseus remembered. "He threw himself into the sea because he thought I was dead in the labyrinth. I wanted to bring him back, but I could not." Nico's ghost hissed. "My lord, the soul exchange. Ask him about that." Theseus scowled. "That voice. I know that voice." "No, you don't, fool," the ghost said. "Answer the Lord's questions and nothing more." I know you, Theseus insisted, as if struggling to recall. I want to hear about my sister, Nico said. Will this quest into the labyrinth help me win her back? Theseus was looking for the ghost, but apparently couldn't see him. Slowly, he turned his eyes back on Nico. The labyrinth is treacherous. There is only one thing that saw me through. The love of a mortal girl. The string was only part of the answer. It was the princess who guided me. We don't need any of that, the ghost said. I will guide you, my lord. Ask him if it is true about the exchange of souls. He will tell you. A soul for a soul? Nico asked. Is it true? I must say yes. But the spectre... Just answer my questions, knave. Oh, just answer the questions, knave, the ghost said. Suddenly, around the edges of the pool, the other ghosts became restless. They stirred, whispering in nervous tones. I want to see my sister, Nico demanded. Where is she? He is coming, Theseus said fearfully. He has sensed your summons. He comes. Who? Nico demanded. He comes to find the source of this power, Theseus said. You must release us. The water in my fountain began to tremble, humming with power. I realized the whole cabin was shaking. The noise grew louder. The image of Nico in the graveyard started to glow until it was painful to watch. Stop, I said out loud. Stop it! The fountain began to crack. Tyson muttered in his sleep and turned over. Purple light threw horrible, ghostly shadows on the cabin walls, as if the specters were escaping right out of the fountain. In desperation, I uncapped Riptide and slashed at the fountain, cleaving it in two. Salt water spilled everywhere, and the great stone font crashed to the floor in pieces. Tyson snorted and muttered, but he kept sleeping. I sank to the ground, shivering from what I'd seen. Tyson found me there in the morning, still staring at the shattered remains of the saltwater fountain. Just after dawn, the quest group met at Zeus's Fist, aka Dung Pile Central. I'm just kidding, that part isn't in the book. I'd packed my knapsack, thermos with nectar, a baggie of ambrosia, bedroll, rope, clothes, flashlights, and lots of extra batteries. I had Riptide in my pocket. The magic shield / wristwatch Tyson had made for me was on my wrist. It was a clear morning. The fog had burned off and the sky was blue. Campers would be having their lessons today, flying Pegasi and practicing archery and scaling the lava wall. Meanwhile, we would be heading underground. Juniper and Grover stood apart from the group. Juniper had been crying again, but she was trying to keep it together for Grover's sake. She kept fussing with his clothes, straightening his Rasta cap, and brushing goat fur off of his shirt. Since we had no idea what we would encounter, he was dressed as a human, with the cap to hide his horns, and jeans, fake feet, and sneakers to hide his goat legs. Chiron, Quintus, and Mrs. O'Leary stood with the other campers who'd come to wish us well. But there was too much activity for it to feel like a happy send-off. A couple of tents had been set up by the rocks for guard duty. Beckendorf and his siblings were working on a line of defensive spikes and trenches. Chiron had decided we needed to guard the Labyrinth exit at all times, just in case. Annabeth was doing one last check on her supply pack. When Tyson and I came over, she frowned.
Percy, you look terrible.
He killed the water fountain last night, Tyson confided.
What?
She asked. Before I could explain, Chiron trotted over. Well, it appears you're ready. He tried to sound upbeat, but I could tell he was anxious. I didn't want to freak him out anymore, but I thought about last night's dream. And before I could change my mind, I said, Hey, Chiron, can I ask you a favor while I'm gone? Of course, my boy. Be right back, guys. I nodded towards the woods. Chiron raised an eyebrow, but he followed me out of earshot. Last night, I said, I dreamed about Luke and Kronos. I told him the details. The news seemed to weigh on his shoulders. I feared this, Chiron said. Against my father, Kronos, we would stand no chance in a fight. Chiron rarely called Kronos his father. I mean, we all knew it was true. Everybody in the Greek world, god, monster, or titan, was related to one another somehow. But it wasn't exactly something Chiron liked to brag about. Oh, my dad is this all-powerful, evil Titan Lord who wants to destroy Western civilization. I want to be just like him when I grow up. No. Do you know what he meant about a bargain? I asked. I am not sure, but I fear they seek to make a deal with Daedalus. If the old inventor is truly alive, if he has not been driven insane by millennia in the Labyrinth, well, Chiron can find ways to twist anyone to his will. Not anyone, I promised. Chiron managed to smile. No, perhaps not anyone. But Percy, you must beware. I have worried for some time that Kronos may be looking for Daedalus for a different reason. Not just passage through the maze. What else could he want? Something Annabeth and I were discussing. Do you remember what you told me about your first trip to the Princess Andromeda? The first time you saw the golden coffin? I nodded. Luke was talking about raising Kronos. Little pieces of him appearing in the coffin every time someone joined his new cause. Every time someone new joined his cause. And what did Luke say they would do when Kronos has risen completely? A chill went down my spine. He said they would make Kronos a new body, worthy of the forges of Hephaestus. Indeed, Chiron said. Daedalus was the world's greatest inventor. He created the Labyrinth, but much more. Automatons, thinking machines. What if Kronos wishes Daedalus to make him a new form? That was a real pleasant thought. We've got to get to Daedalus first, I said, and convince him not to. Chiron stared off into the trees. one other thing I do not understand. This talk of a last soul joining their cause. That does not bode well. I kept my mouth shut, but I felt guilty. I'd made the decision not to tell Chiron about Nico being a son of Hades. The mention of souls, though. What if Kronos knew about Nico? What if he managed to turn him evil? It was almost enough to make me want to tell Chiron, but I didn't. For one thing, I wasn't sure Chiron could do anything about it. I had to find Nico myself. I had to explain things to him, make him listen. I don't know, I said at last. But, something Juniper said, maybe you should hear. I told him how the tree nymph had seen Quintus poking around the rocks. Chiron's jaw tightened. That does not surprise me. It doesn't You mean you knew? Percy, when Quintus showed up at camp offering his services, well, I would have to be a fool not to be suspicious. Then why did you let him in? Because sometimes it is better to have someone you mistrust close to you, so that you can keep an eye on him. He may be just what he says, a half-blood in search of a home. Certainly he has done nothing openly that would make me question his loyalty. But believe me, I will keep an eye. Annabeth trudged over, probably curious why we were taking so long. Percy, you ready? I nodded. My hand slipped into my pocket, where I kept the ice whistle Quintus had given me. I looked over and saw Quintus watching me carefully. He raised his hand in farewell. Our spies report success, Luke had said. The same day we decided to send a quest. Luke had known about it. Take care, Chiron told us, and good hunting. You too, I said. We walked over to the rocks where Tyson and Grover were waiting. I stared at the crack between the boulders, the entrance that was about to swallow us. Well, Grover said nervously. Goodbye, sunshine. Hello, rocks, Tyson agreed. And together, the four of us descended into darkness. Ooh. Ooh, snap. Is Quintus the spy? Is Quintus the spy? Snap. Guys, Tyson already sacrificed himself once. Do not tell me that he tries to do that hullabaloo again. Little break? Yeah, mini break. I do think, for the sake of time, we're not gonna do the usual, like, second BRB. I'm gonna read straight through the next chapter, since it's not too terribly long. I was thinking of ending it at the second chapter, but I'd like to read the third. Third of the night, sixth in the book. Yeah, dude. Coleman, I know. That was adorable, right at the end there. Goodbye, sunshine. And hello, rocks. I imagine, like, my image is that most of them have a bit of, like, dread or despair, but Tyson's just like, alright, let's do this thing. Which is just so, I mean, it's heartwarming, dude. His ignorance to the true danger that they're in. Or maybe he's not. I don't know. There has been, there was that line in the last book where Percy stopped for a moment and said, or it might have been in this one, heck, where Percy stopped and said, Tyson, for being like a cyclops and for acting as, or for seeming ignorant most of the time, is actually smarter than we give him credit for. It could be that he knows, or at least gets the idea, right? But still keeps an optimistic attitude anyways. I don't know. There is the advantage, though, that Cyclopses do have zero trouble being underground. Poor Grover, though, dude. I have a feeling we're gonna get a lot of worried Grover voice in the chapters to come. Well, heck yeah. Alright. One more sip of tea and then let's move on into the next chapter. Also, I have a question that I want to ask by the end. Be sure to remind me. It's about Thursday. If for some reason I forget after this chapter, there's a question I'd like to ask you guys. Six. We meet the god with two faces. We made it 100 feet before we were hopelessly lost. The tunnel looked nothing like the one Annabeth and I had stumbled into before. Now it was round, like a sewer, constructed of red brick with iron-barred portholes every 10 feet. I shined a light through one of the portholes, out of curiosity, but I couldn't see anything. It opened into infinite darkness. I thought I heard voices on the other side, but it may have just been the cold wind. Annabeth tried her best to guide us. She had this idea that we should stick to the left wall. If we keep one hand on the left wall and follow it, she said, we should be able to find our way out again by reversing course. Unfortunately, as soon as she said that, the left wall disappeared. We found ourselves in the middle of a circular chamber, with 8 tunnels leading out, and no idea how we'd gotten there. Which way did we come in? Grover said nervously. Just turn around, Annabeth said. We each turned toward a different tunnel. It was ridiculous. None of us could decide which way led back to camp. Left walls are mean, Tyson said. Which way now? Annabeth swept her flashlight beam over the archways of the 8 tunnels. As far as I could tell, they were identical. That way, she said. How do you know? I asked. Deductive reasoning. So, you're guessing. Just come on, she said. The tunnel she'd chosen narrowed quickly. The walls turned to gray cement, and the ceiling got so low that pretty soon we were hunching over. Tyson was forced to crawl. Grover's hyperventilating was the loudest noise in the maze. "I can't stand it anymore," he whispered. "Are we there yet?" "We've been down here maybe 5 minutes," Annabeth told him. "It's been longer than that," Grover insisted. "And why would Pan be down here? This is the opposite of the wild." We kept shuffling forward. Just when I was sure the tunnel would get so narrow it would squish us, it opened into a huge room. I shined my light around the walls and said, "Whoa." The whole room was covered in mosaic tiles. The pictures were grimy and faded, but I could still make out the colors. Red, blue, green, gold. The frise showed the Olympian gods at a feast. There was my dad, Poseidon, with his trident, holding out grapes for Dionysus to turn into wine. Zeus was partying with satyrs, and Hermes was flying through the air on his winged sandals. The pictures were beautiful, but they weren't very accurate. I'd seen the gods. Dionysus was not that handsome, and Hermes' nose wasn't that big. In the middle of the room was a 3-tiered fountain. It looked like it hadn't held water in a long time. "What is this place?" I muttered. "It looks Roman," Annabeth said. "Those mosaics are about 2,000 years old." "But how can they be Roman?" I wasn't that great on ancient history, but I was pretty sure the Roman Empire never made it as far as Long Island. "The Labyrinth is a patchwork," Annabeth said. "I told you, it's always expanding, adding pieces. It's the only work of architecture that grows by itself." "You make it sound like it's alive." A groaning noise echoed from the tunnel in front of us. "Let's not talk about it being alive," Grover whimpered. "Please." "All right," Annabeth said. "Forward." "Down the hall with the bad sounds?" Tyson said. Even he looked nervous. "Yeah," Annabeth said. "The architecture is getting older. That's a good sign. Daedalus's workshop would be in the oldest part." That made sense. But soon the maze was toying with us. We went 50 feet and the tunnel turned back to cement, with brass pipes running down the sides. The walls were spray-painted with graffiti. A neon tagger sign read, "Maw's Rules." "I'm thinking this is not Roman," I said helpfully. Annabeth took a deep breath, then I forged ahead. Every few feet, the tunnels twisted and turned and branched off. The floor beneath us changed from cement to mud bricks and back again. There was no sense to any of it. We stumbled into a wine cellar, a bunch of dusty bottles and wooden racks, like we were walking through somebody's basement. Only there was no exit above us, just more tunnels leading on. Later the ceiling turned to wooden planks, and I could hear voices above us and the creaking of footsteps, as if we were walking under some kind of bar. It was reassuring to hear people again, but then again, we couldn't get to them. We were stuck down here with no way out. Then we found our first skeleton. He was dressed in white clothes, like some kind of uniform. A wooden crate of glass bottles sat next to him. "A milkman? A milkman," Annabeth said. "What?" They used to deliver milk. I know what they are, but that was when my mom was little, like 1,000,000 years ago. What's he doing down here? Some people wander in by mistake, Annabeth said. Some come exploring on purpose and never come back. A long time ago, the Cretans even sent people in here as human sacrifices. Grover gulped. He's been down here a long time. He pointed to the skeleton's bottles, which were coated with white dust. The skeleton's fingers were clawing at the brick wall, like he had died trying to get out.
Only bones, Tyson said. Don't worry, goat boy. The milkman is dead.
The milkman doesn't bother me, Grover said. It's the smell. Monsters. Can't you smell it? Tyson nodded.
Lots of monsters. But underground smells like that. Monsters and dead milk people.
Oh, good, Grover whimpered. I thought maybe I was wrong. We have to get deeper into the maze, Annabeth said. There has to be a way to the center. She led us to the right, then the left, through a corridor of stainless steel, like some kind of air shaft. And we arrived back in the Roman tile room, the fountain. This time, we weren't alone. What I noticed first were his faces. Both of them. They jutted out from either side of his head, staring over his shoulders, so his head was much wider than it should have been. Kind of like a hammerhead shark's. Looking straight at him, all I saw were 2 overlapping ears and mirror image sideburns. He was dressed like a New York City doorman. A long black overcoat, shiny shoes, and a black top hat that somehow managed to stay on his double-wide head. Well, Annabeth, said his left face. Hurry up. Don't mind him. Oh. Don't mind him, said the right face. He's terribly rude. Right this way, miss. Annabeth's jaw dropped. I don't... Tyson frowned.
That funny man has 2 faces.
The funny man has ears, you know, the left face scolded. Now, come along, miss.
No,
the right face said.
This way, miss. Talk to me, please.
The two-faced man regarded Annabeth as best he could out of the corner of his eyes. It was impossible to look at him straight on without focusing on one side or the other. And suddenly, I realized that's what he was asking. He wanted Annabeth to choose. Behind him were 2 exits, blocked by wooden doors with huge iron locks. They hadn't been there our first time through the room. The two-faced doorman held a silver key, which he kept passing from his left hand to his right hand. I wondered if this was a different room completely, but the frieze of the gods looked exactly the same. Behind us, the doorway we'd come through had disappeared, replaced by more mosaics. We couldn't be going back the way we came. The exits are closed, Annabeth said. Duh, the man's left face said. Where do they lead? She asked.
One probably leads to the way you wish to go, the right face said encouragingly. The other leads to certain death.
I know who you are, Annabeth said.
Oh, you're a smart one, the left face sneered. But do you know which way to choose? I don't have all day. Why are you trying to confuse me? Annabeth asked. The right face smiled. You're in charge now, my dear. All the decisions are on your shoulders. That's what you wanted, isn't it? We know you, Annabeth, the left face said. We know what you wrestle with every day. We know your indecision. You will have to make your choice, sooner or later. And the choice may kill you. I didn't know what they were talking about, but it sounded like it was about more than a choice between doors. The color drained out of Annabeth's face. No, I don't. Leave her alone, I said. Who are you anyway? I'm your best friend, the right face said. I'm your worst enemy, the left face said. I'm Janice. Both faces said in harmony. God of doorways, beginnings, endings, choices. I'll see you soon enough, Percy Jackson, said the right face. But for now, it's Annabeth's turn. He laughed giddily. Such fun. Shut up, his left face said. This is serious. One bad choice can ruin your whole life. It can kill you and all your friends. Oh, but no pressure, Annabeth. Choose. With a sudden chill, I remembered the words of the prophecy. The child of Athena's final stand. Don't do it, I said. I'm afraid she has to. Annabeth moistened her lips. I choose. Before she could point to a door, a brilliant light flooded the room. Janice raised his hands to either side of his head to cover his eyes. When the light died, a woman was standing at the fountain. She was tall and graceful, with long hair the color of chocolate, braided in plaits with gold ribbons. She wore a simple white dress, but when she moved, the fabric shimmered with colors like oil on water. Janice, she said, are we causing trouble again? No, lady. Janice's right face stammered. Yes, the left face said. Shut up, the right face said. Excuse me, the woman asked. Excuse me, the woman asked. Not you, my lady. I was talking to myself. I see, the lady said. You know very well your visit is premature. The girl's time has not yet come. So I give you a choice. Leave these heroes to me, or I shall turn you into a door and break you down. What kind of door? The left face asked. Shut up, the right face said. Because French doors are nice, the left face mused. Lots of natural light. Shut up, the right face wailed. No, not you, my lady. Of course, I'll leave. I was just having a bit of fun. Doing my job. Offering choices. Causing indecision, the woman corrected. Now be gone. The left face muttered. Party pooper. Then he raised his silver key
inserted it into the air, and disappeared. The woman turned to us, and fear closed around my heart. Her eyes shined with power. Leave these heroes to me. That didn't sound good. For a second, I almost wished we could have taken our chances with Janice. But then the woman smiled.
You must be hungry, she said. Sit with me and talk.
She waved her hand, and the old Roman fountain began to flow. Jets of clear water sprayed into the air. A marble table appeared, laden with platters of sandwiches and pitchers of lemonade. Who are you? I asked.
I am Hera, the woman smiled. Queen of Heaven.
I'd seen Hera once before at a council of the gods, but I hadn't paid much attention to her. At the time, I'd been surrounded by a bunch of other gods who were debating whether or not to kill me. I didn't remember her looking so normal. Of course, gods are usually 20 feet tall when they're on Olympus, so that makes them look a lot less normal. But now, Hera looked like a regular mom. She served us sandwiches and poured lemonade.
Grover, dear, she said, use your napkin. Don't eat it.
Yes, ma'am, Grover said.
Tyson, you're wasting away. Would you like another peanut butter sandwich?
Tyson stifled a belch.
Yes, nice lady. Queen Hera, Annabeth said. I can't believe it. What are you doing in the labyrinth?
Hera smiled. She flicked one finger, and Annabeth's hair combed itself. All the dirt and grime disappeared from her face.
I came to see you, naturally,
the goddess said. Grover and I exchanged nervous looks. Usually, when gods come looking for you, it's not out of the goodness of their hearts. It's because they want something. Still, that didn't keep me from chowing down on turkey and Swiss sandwiches, and chips, and lemonade. I hadn't realized how hungry I was. Tyson was inhaling one peanut butter sandwich after another, and Grover was loving the lemonade, crunching the styrofoam cup like an ice cream cone.
I didn't think...
Annabeth faltered.
Well, I didn't think you liked heroes.
Hera smiled indulgently.
Because of that little spat I had with Hercules. Honestly, I got so much bad press because of one disagreement. Didn't you try to kill him, like, a lot of times?
Annabeth asked. Hera waved her hand dismissively.
Water under the bridge, dear. Besides, he was one of my loving husband's children by another woman. My patience wore thin, I'll admit it. But Zeus and I have some excellent marriage counseling sessions since then. We've aired our feelings and come to an understanding, especially after that last little incident.
You mean when he sired Thalia? I guessed. But immediately wished I hadn't. As soon as I said the name of our friend, the half-blood daughter of Zeus, Hera's eyes turned toward me frostily.
Percy Jackson, isn't it? One of Poseidon's children.
I got the feeling she was thinking of another word besides children.
As I recall, I voted to let you live at the winter solstice. I hope I voted correctly.
She turned back to Annabeth with a sunny smile.
At any rate, I certainly bear no ill will, my girl. I appreciate the difficulty of your quest, especially when you have troublemakers like Janice to deal with.
Annabeth lowered her gaze.
Why was he here? He was driving me crazy. Trying to.
Hera agreed.
You must understand. The minor gods like Janice have always been frustrated by the small parts they play in the universe. Some, I fear, have little love for Olympus, could easily be swayed to support the rise of my father.
Your father? I said. Oh. Right. I'd forgotten that Kronos was Hera's dad, too, along with being father to Zeus, Poseidon, and all the eldest Olympians. I guess that made Kronos my grandfather. But that thought was so weird, I put it out of my mind.
We must watch the minor gods, Hera said. Janus, Hecate, Morpheus. They give lip service to Olympus, and yet...
That's where Dionysus went. I remembered. He was checking on the minor gods.
Indeed.
Hera stated, Hera stared at the fading mosaics of the Olympians.
You see, in times of trouble, even gods can lose faith. They start putting their trust in the wrong things, pretty things. They stop looking at the big picture and start being selfish. But I'm the goddess of marriage, you see. I'm used to perseverance. You have to rise above the squabbling and chaos and keep believing. You have to always keep your goals in mind.
What are your goals? Annabeth asked. She smiled.
To keep my family, the Olympians, together, of course. At the moment, the best way I can do that is by helping you. Zeus does not allow me to interfere much, I'm afraid. But once every century or so, for a quest I care deeply about, he allows me to grant a wish. A wish? Before you ask it, let me give you some advice, which I can do for free. I know you seek Daedalus. His labyrinth is as much a mystery to me as it is to you. But if you want to know his fate, I would visit my son Hephaestus at his forge. Daedalus was a great inventor, a mortal after Hephaestus' heart. There has never been a mortal Hephaestus admired more. If anyone would have kept up with Daedalus and could tell you his fate, it is Hephaestus. But how do we get there? Annabeth asked. That's my wish. I want a way to navigate the labyrinth.
Hera looked disappointed.
So be it. You wish for something, however, that you have already been given. I don't understand. That means... The means is already within your grasp.
She looked at me.
Percy knows the answer.
I do?
That's not fair, Annabeth said. You're not telling me what it is.
Hera shook her head.
Getting something and having the wits to use it, those are two different things. I'm sure your mother Athena would agree.
The room rumbled like distant thunder. Hera stood.
That would be my cue. Zeus grows impatient. Think on what I have said, Annabeth. Seek out Hephaestus. You will have to pass through the ranch, I imagine. But keep going, and use all the means at your disposal, however common they may seem.
She pointed toward the two doors and they melted away, revealing twin corridors, open and dark.
One last thing, Annabeth. I have to postpone your day of choice. I've not prevented it. I have postponed your day of choice. I have not prevented it. Soon, as Janice said, you will have to make a decision. Farewell.
She waved a hand and turned into white smoke. So did the food, just as Tyson chomped down on a sandwich that turned to mist in his mouth. The fountain trickled to a stop. The mosaic walls dimmed and turned grungy and faded again. The room was no longer any place you'd want to have a picnic. Annabeth stamped her foot.
What sort of help is that? Here, have a sandwich. Make a wish. Oops, I can't help you. Poof!
Poof! Poof! Tyson agreed sadly, looking at his empty plate. Well, Grover sighed. She said Percy knows the answer. That's something. They all looked at me. But I don't, I said. I don't know what she's talking about. Annabeth sighed.
All right. We'll just keep going.
Which way? I asked. I really wanted to ask what Hera had meant, about the choice Annabeth needed to make. But then Grover and Tyson both tensed. They stood up together, like they'd rehearsed it. Left. Left, they both said. Annabeth frowned.
How can you be sure?
Because something is coming from the right, Grover said. Something big, Tyson agreed. In a hurry. Left is sounding pretty good, I decided. Together, we plunged into the dark corridor. Whew. Hey, what's up, Impulse? I agree. Tyson is best boy. Yo, what is Hera doing? I have a guess as to why Percy knows the answer. Does anybody else want to throw a guess out there before I say what I'm thinking it is? Why does Percy know the answer? I have no clue what frickin' Annabeth's choice is gonna be though. I guess I have theories, but with the Percy thing, I'm pretty sure I know. Whew. Oh man, guys, I'm getting sleepy. No? No guesses? Well, alright. I'll throw my guess out there then. In his dream, right? Or yeah, it was his dream, right? He was told that, or no, when he saw Nico, the ghost of Theseus said, sorry, I actually won't give it all away, just in case some of you haven't thought about this yet. But think about what the ghost of Theseus said to Nico that Percy overheard. That's why he knows. That's my best guess. But Percy is too much of a dingus to figure it out. Come on, Percy. Come on, dude. You know, I feel like even if he was certain about that, he wouldn't admit it. Also, I really like Janice. I think he was a fun character. And I really like Hera or Era. I don't know if we've seen that side of her before. I mean, one thing's for sure, she's definitely on the side of the Olympians. She's on the side of her family. Yeah, that must be tough though. If you're married to Zeus and not, like you're another god and you're married to Zeus, how'd you feel about like your stepchildren? Your illegitimate stepchildren? Yeah, silly. There appears to be silence. At least coming from the chat. That's alright. It's part of my job. Fill the open air. Let's see. Which was my favorite of the 3 chapters? I think it was 4. Chapter 4. Hands down. Yep. Hands down, chapter 4. It had the scene where Clarice is humanized a bit. As Percy realizes that she knew the guy that went crazy before he left and joined Luke. And that she actually loves somebody. She cares. And it had the scene where Annabeth was struggling with feeling up to the task. Percy comforted her. That was a tender scene. That was a nice scene. I guess it's when it comes to the duties of a god. Oh, sorry, I forget what that was in reference to. Oh. Yes. Messing with settings. Hey, what's up, May? Welcome back. We have reached the end of our nice, chill Tuesday stream. Man, this is the first time, because I feel that occasionally, it's probably because I got up at 7 a.m., but most of the time whenever I stream, I feel energized after it, you know? Like I feel all ramped up, like I've accomplished something, and I'm in a get her done mode and whatnot, but I don't know. I'm feeling the sleepies. Yeah, I'm getting the sleepies in my eyes, and yawns are finding their way into my mouth. Calling me sir. Please. I appreciate the sir, though. I remember the first time I was called sir was when I started coaching gymnastics. Yes, sleep is important. But thankfully, like I'm really grateful that I was able to start much earlier today, because we still got to read our 3 chapters, and I still get in bed on time. Good stuff. Sleepy time, boys. Sleepy time. Oh, man, you remembered. Thank you. Shoot, yeah. I was actually sleepy enough to where I forgot my question. Forgot to ask it rather. I do remember what the question was. So, on Thursday, we no longer have D&D going on. So, I'm trying to figure out what to fill that gap with. I still would like to stream on those days. But I'm curious to see what the interest would be. I could I could read more Percy Jackson. I could play games, whether that be like continuing Ori in the Blind Forest, or whether that be horror games. I also want to check out AI Dungeon. That might be a good day to test that out. Yep, no D&D. It is officially off the stream. I think did our DM ever make an announcement in the server about that? He has not done that yet. You can be on the lookout though, in the announcements page for the Merry Mitch Meadow. And I'll ask him about that to see why he didn't get that out. That was meant to go out over the weekend. But yeah, no D&D. I'm certainly not elated about it, to say the least. I'm sad and I'm disappointed. And I wish it weren't the case, but no more D&D to stream for you dudes. I'm immensely grateful though, although there is like some sadness and distress on my side, I'm still immensely grateful that the D&D campaign will continue, and I can share kind of what happened in it on Friday streams. I can give you a little rundown of like how it went, or some highlights of what I felt were the funnest or goofiest or silliest or intense parts. But yeah, so I'm grateful it's certainly gonna still be running, but we won't be doing it live and on camera. Yeah, that one word story. I do think that would be really neat to if we could get that together. Yeah, I feel like it'll be appropriate to like start the stream that way. It won't be that way this week because our DM postponed the game again for this week due to work scheduling and whatnot. So next Friday, I believe I'll be starting the Fantasy Friday stream with a little update on how Little Brittle's doing. Little Brittle and the gang. And I'll try to like put in the song that I had made for the campaign. I'll try to just play that like during a break at some point. Kind of mix that into the mix of songs that I played during, or the mix of my songs that I played during the break. And then I'm planning on adapting it to a more orchestral format to become Fantasy Friday's opening theme. Which I think will be good. Either that or I'll make just the instrumental version, the Fantasy Friday theme. Work on that though. I'm also still in the works on getting the Merry Mitch intro theme revamped. I'm certainly gonna keep like the Merry Mitch intro that we have currently, but I want to be able to alternate and have like a little more of a hyped up one. Just in case, I wanna start the stream with some energy. Whew. Yeah. So just throw it out there as well. I want to make sure that you guys know that tomorrow I'm still keeping to Wednesdays being off for me. I'll be streaming all the other days, But Wednesdays are gonna be the day off for me going forward. All of my songs are amazing. Thank you. I tend to think they're pretty cool too. I'm proud of what I've done, especially when I look back to songs that I made over 3 years ago. It's cool. It's nice to see progress and to still be able to look back and be proud of the stuff that I've made throughout the years. Yeah, free day is nice, and it's kind of neat, necessary for me. I know on Wednesdays, because especially on a week like this where I get up at 7 every morning. If I'm getting back from practice Wednesday nights at 9, I can't be streaming. I thought about maybe I could do it since I get off like in the afternoon. Could maybe do like a super early stream before practice, but I decided against it because I'd like to have one free day in the week. And I'm still surprised that the egg was the one you were gonna recommend, May. That it still is wild to me. So happy that Jinkies wound up requesting that one. And it turned out to be the one you wanted to be read as well. Neat little coinkydink. From 7 to 9. A way too busy day. It's not exactly go, go, go throughout that whole time. It's, it's kind of go, go, go from 7 a.m. to about 1 p.m. roughly. And then I get a breather until 6 o'clock. A little bit before that, though. I'd say 5:30, since I gotta get in the car and drive on over to practice. I'm glad it surprised you. I imagine it was a merry surprise. Oh yeah. The egg. Such a solid story. I'm gonna keep that one in the books. I do recall that at some point here, I was thinking as either like if we hit some kind of goal that I set up, or if we hit just some kind of anniversary, like a 5-month anniversary of the stream or something along those lines, I want to do a stream where I compile what I feel are the best stories that we have read thus far in any of the nights. And we have a best of the best night. Where I reread them, get another chance to see if I can, read them even better than the last time. And just in general, like bring back up some stories that I felt are worth rereading. Yeah, I feel like There Will Come Soft Rains would be in that one. The Egg might be in that one. I'm gonna have trouble. Like, I'm gonna have trouble compiling them down to like a list of maybe 5 for a night. Yeah, good memories night. No doubt about it. Well, okay, guys. I do think it's best that I be shoving off to Betty by Land. Know what I'm talking about? Hit the hay, hit the sack, snooze it up. All that jazz. It's about time that I head off to bed. Wish me luck at work tomorrow. Thank you everybody for being here. Honestly, it still surprises me to this day, very pleasantly. But nonetheless, I'm still surprised when, these like Monday and Tuesday nights, seemingly like to me have like a packed house of upwards of 10 people. It's a super cool thing. I think it's nice that we've built a little community here. And yeah, I'm glad that my practice here can be something entertaining and genuine and special in the hearts of all you folks. So, as always, be sure to clasp the merriment that we created today in your hands. Slurp it down, throw it in a blender, blend it up with some happiness, some sugar, and some cool sunglasses for added epicness. Blend it all up, slurp it down, and let its nutrients flow through you in the next day. Sorry, I tried to mix up the thing that I say at the end of the streams here. It went how it did. And thanks everybody so much for being here. I pray you have a very merry day tomorrow, and I'll be seeing you on Thursday. Keep on swaying, my wildflowers. I'll see you next time.